Hello, Spinner94 here, and today I'm bringing you another Pokemon Wi-Fi match. We're playing an OU match today, and this person is bringing an awesome team. He's got a Weezing, he's got a Bishop, he's bringing a Tangrowth. This man is pretty ballsy bringing all these to OU, so instantly he is running the more interesting team. And here's my question of the day for you people. What's your favourite grass type? My favourite grass type is either Shroomish or Chikorita. Shroomish, not Shroomish, sorry, Breloom. However, let's get the evolutions here. Can't talk today. So anyway, talking to Breloom, as you've seen there, my opponent led off with the Bishop and I led off with the Breloom, so he's wanting to switch, and I just decided to put this Weezing to sleep after he switched. So he starts recovering with his Black Sludge here, and I decide to withdraw, of course, into my Alakazam because I know Weezing's set somewhat well, and he's going to be wanting to burn me, etc. Because these things, carry Will-O-Wisp, Sludge Bomb, Flamethrower, they're pretty nasty to verse. They can hold up in any tier. I mean, as this guy's bringing it to OU, so he's certainly got some confidence in Weezing, which I don't blame him for. So I go for the Shadow Ball here, because I'll carry Psy Shock rather than Psychic. So wanting to withdraw this Alakazam and not wanting to get a Sucker Punch to the face, I make a stupid misplay here, of course. I think I'll intimidate this thing, but no, of course these things do carry Defiant, so not a good move on my part. Luckily goes for the Sucker Punch, not wanting to hang around to get burned. It just decides to switch to just Tentacruel, expecting maybe a Flare Blitz, because I know a lot of people run the more offensive Arcanines, and my run is especially defensive Arcanine that runs special moves. So he gets burned here. Pardon me, and I'm not wanting to switch. I want to see what this thing's going to do, so he just decides to Scald, and I go for the Roar. Probably not the best play. Roar obviously works a lot better synchronized with Stealth Rocks. So here, I decide to switch out, because I predict him to go back into his Tentacruel with me being a Fire type, but he does get the Predict on me and goes into his Weezing. And Pazuzu not really wanting to hang around with this Weezing, because it's just going to burn him, and burn Pazuzu is not too useful. So I go into my Alakazam as this thing wakes up and goes to the Will-O-Wisp. So of course Alakazam doesn't give two shits about being burned or toxic or anything like that, thanks to his awesome ability Magic Guard. So he goes into his Bishop again, and I predict him to go into it and go for a Dazzling Gleam. So it causes a good chunk of damage. Ooh, pardon me, but doesn't kill, so these things are a lot more defensive than I thought. I mean, for some reason I keep thinking Bishops are very fragile, but it's a Steel type. I don't think any Steel types are that fragile, except maybe Aegislash in its attacking mode. So he just decides to withdraw into his Tentacruel here, as I decide to Mega Evolve into my Angron here, Mega Angron. So it goes for the Stealth Rock, and I don't know why he switched into his Tentacruel. If he predicted the Earthquake, it was super effective damage anyway. So maybe he was predicting a Steel move, I'm not 100% sure. So he goes for the Rapid Spin here, and that does nothing to Pazuzu, and I'm going to get the surprise Earthquake off, so I don't think my opponent was expecting that, and uses a cool chunk of damage. But seriously, that thing must have lived on like 1 health, just the smallest smidgen of health. But thankfully Whoop is getting revenge killing and burning this thing to death. So looks like Whoop had the laugh on this goddamn annoying water type. So in comes the Meta Charm, and this thing is terrifying for me, so I decide to switch to my Whoop. But of course, silly me forgets, oh yeah, Stealth Rock. So I get the Intimidate on this thing, and this thing's going to decide to Mega Evolve and just slap me in the face with a good old Fake Out. So basically this thing is just causing absolute damage here. Look at that, even after Intimidated, that Fake Out does a good chunk. But, Rocky Helmet, I'm going to take a little chunk of health off just to goes for the Psycho Cut instead of Zen Hit. I'd recommend Zen Hit, but I suppose you want accuracy. So I go for the Dazzling Gleam here. I don't know why my opponent's did, maybe thinking I was faster, maybe predicting a double switch. We've been doing quite a lot of switching work in this match. So I'm not wanting to get hit by a Sucker Punch, because that's the only reason that you bring this thing in. And so I switch it to my Pazuzu here, but he just decided to make the play of a Sucker Punch. Sorry, he's already set up the Stealth Rocks. So he goes into the Weezing again, and I can't really touch this thing. So setting up my own Stealth Rocks again, because I'm just wanting that little bit of chip damage each time. So I go into my Nelly here, which was probably my easily poorest play of the match. Because, you don't switch a Brute into a defensive wall, especially one that your Brutes can't hurt, because I was just literally at the mindset of Earthquaking, but then as soon as I made the play I realised, oh yeah, this thing's of course, it outspeeds me, it's going to be able to burn me, and my stab move isn't going to be able to hurt it. So it's certainly not the best play on my part. So I'm just going to be sitting here, getting burned, and I go for the Ice Shard, which does nothing. But at this point I thought I'm just going to stay in and scout this thing's moveset. And as you see, he went for a Sludge Bomb there, probably expecting me to switch, but Nelly's unfortunately useless at this point, because I don't have any Heal Bell or anything on this team. So I throw for the play rough, even though I know it's not going to hurt this thing at all. Ice Shard probably would have done more. But as you can tell there, getting burned, play rough miss, and Nelly unfortunately didn't get to do too much, but at least I got rid of those stealth rocks, so that's a good thing. So I decided to try and put this thing to sleep, but I forgot about this spaghetti monster hanging around in the background. So this thing is just going to start walling my really brilliant at this point. So I'm thinking, well, I can't really trust this thing because these things are defensive. So I'll go into my pretty boy here as he goes for the poison jab, so really good predict on this, and that does a huge chunk to my Sylveon considering I have a lot of defensive investment. So I'm not too sure what to do here, I just decided to stay in and sack off my pretty boy, but he just got the knockoff, so he was expecting the switch. And with that amount of damage here, he just decided to switch out. He does have the regenerator ability, so he's going to keep stacking up health and goes into his Weezing. And even though it's a resisted hit this, it still does a good chunk of damage to this Weezing considering I've got no special attack investment. But Sylveon's special attack's pretty good anyway, it's like 110 or something like that. So it goes for Flamethrower, particularly to switch into my Angron, and I'm just going to keep going for the Hyper Voice because at this point, Pretty Boy's just going to be a sacrifice. Typical, you always sacrifice the prettiest ones, haven't you always noticed that? So down goes my cute little pretty boy. Pretty boy's, you know, dead as hell. So I'm going into my Alakazam here because I knew this thing would pretty much just be scared out by it and he'd go into his Bishop, as I just decided to go for the Dazzling Gleam. So at least this Bishop's going to be out the way now because every time I bring up my Alakazam he thought out his Bishop as an answer basically, so I thought he's probably going to do it this time, want to save his defensive wall. So he goes into his Tangrowth here and I'm thinking, I know this thing's mainly a defensive, but I don't think I'm going to be able to take it out at this point, and I probably could have, but I didn't want to take a risk. So I go into my Bazuso here as he decides to make the double switch into his Weezing, so good play on my opponent. My opponent's read me pretty well this match. I mean, he had some good Pokemon as well. I mean, I really like this person's team. I mean, Weezing, Metachan, all the good stuff in that team. So going to my Alakazam again as he goes for the Will-O-Wisp. Of course, me being already burnt and Magic Guard doesn't really bug me. So I go for the Shadow Ball here because it's going to do decent damage to whatever it decides to switch in, and nothing resists it now thanks to that Bishop being gone. So he goes into his Thundurus here, and this is my only really bad misplay on my opponent's part, I personally think. He probably thought he was faster than my Alakazam, so I hit him with the Psyshock and he lives with a smidgen of health and goes for the Nasty Plot. But that's not really going to do him a lot of good here as I'm able just to go for the Psyshock. I mean, even if he did outspeed me as you're about to see, my Alakazam would have been able to deal with it. So he goes into his final Pokemon, his absolutely awesome Spaghetti Monster. This thing, it's did a good job. I mean, it scared the hell out of Sylveon. So go for the Shadow Ball, doesn't kill, goes for the knockoff. But luckily for me, I am the Focus Sash Alakazam, and that's pretty much secured me the game at this point. So good match, Stephen. You have an awesome team. I mean, bringing that to an OU match, you're incredibly ballsy. So you have my appreciation right there. This was a fun match I had a while ago. So I hope you'll all like this video and have a nice day.